Hello people, this is Ryder here to review the Kamen Revice Memorial Vistamp Selection 03 Igarashi Sakura and Lovekov set. So this is the third and second to be released Memorial Vistamp set, as this and 01 were released together. And obviously, as you can see from this set comprises of the Vistamps of Sakura, or John, and Lovekov, and such. Obviously, it's in the same vein of a traditional 2-pack Vistamp set, as we can show with the Demon's Trooper set. Obviously, it's just still in that memorial style, which I appreciate that this is technically the only box with consistency. I really do like the front overall with, again, John and Lovekov with the cage bursting open and such. The top with the Cobra Vistamp and John's Ryder symbol. The right having Kamen Rider John with the cages, yet again. And then the left having Lovekov and the contents and just the warnings and such, the amount of LR44s, and this is the DX front, or the DX side with Invincible John, as this is her power-up form that she obtains in the last, 5 episodes, the last 7 episodes I believe, as is the King Cobra Vistamp, and such. Again, this is technically DX. Again, this will be the actual title on the video, but just for the sake of reading this and such. Yeah. So again, here we have our 2 Vistamps. Let's take a look at the Cobra Memorial version. As you can see from here, it's basically, again, just the Cobra Vistamp with less marbling, except for up here. Obviously, everything still works like so. QR code for Gomberizing. Still has the A. And then comparison with the one with the Libra driver. I mean, no, I was going to say it's definitely due to lighting. I was going to say this one definitely looks darker, but I think for the most part they're the same. Again, for the sake of mine, I think both of mine barely have any marbling, because this one has marbling down here, but this one actually has marbling up here, so there's not really any comparison we can do. Again, we will do our comparisons. So there's the cage coming down. Obviously there's no stamping sound. So instead of Sakura saying henshin, you actually get her pre-phrase, or the thing she says before actually activating it. Something about invincibility. And then, again, sound comparison. Sounds the same. Yeah, this one definitely sounds similar. So if you haven't watched set 2, basically the way Sakura's, or the way Cobra's laid out is kind of like that, but just with one less mode. Because obviously you don't have 2 users. But the phrase mode is basically laid out the same. There's like weird background noises occurring, which is making me very hesitant about whether or not this is just directly pulled from the show, or if it's just mine. So that was like 8 Sakura phrases, and now we're getting into the Lovekov phrases. Oops. So that was basically it, and then if we hold it. Just like Bat, we get 2 monologues between the characters. Yeah. Because then taking a look at King Cobra, as I've already talked about before, this is basically a new line of Vistamps that are evolved versions of previously established Vistamps. So obviously, like what I said before, this is the King Cobra Vistamp, which is just obviously it's just Cobra, but obviously more gigantified and such, which I really do like how this one looks overall. I love the color scheme of this one. I like the blue marbling with the yellow sparkly background, the orange Cobra with blue accents. It's such a nice evolution, and I like how much more this comes out as a Cobra than the original Cobra. I never really liked the Cobra. And just the blue marbling is just, or the black marbling on the blue is just pretty great. And then the stamp pad itself is also pretty cool too. Because again, I already covered Megabat and Giant Spider. Those were the second ones to be released. This one was the first one. And then the QR code for Gambarazine. And yeah. So this one, again, follows the same scheme as Perfect Wing. This one is just a standard DX Vistamp. Come on. Jeez. Alright. It didn't. That's what happens sometimes at the pull tabs. We get a green LED. So we just get a new activation. So yeah, let's use these 2 within the Libra driver. So obviously just activate it like so. But more accurately. Gotta let the cages fall. And then insert it like so. So as you can hear the cage breaking. And then, if you actually hold down the button, you hear that? This actually, like, accommodates the sounds in here, which is cool. I still don't get why Bat doesn't. But anyways, I initially did not know that you had to hold down the button for Sakura to say Henshin, but that's still cool. That's better than whatever they can do with Bat. And then just all of this is basically still the same. again, I get why they can't technically do much, but it's just like it would have been cool to hear Sakura. I guess technically the only thing that would have been neat is just to be able to hear that sound by itself, because obviously because of the way the infrared sensors work, they need both of them need to be active for one to work. Basically, the only way to hear that sound individually is due to some niftiness or the audio of this dying. And then, finally, we get this new standby. So there we have the transmission of Invincible John, which is pretty cool. As you can see here, we have a 7 LED, and just overall, I like how this Vistamp looks on here. I like that the orange is like emphasized, just to bring out the orange for this belt and such. And we do have 2 new finishers. This finisher standby is coming from the Vistamp. Like I should probably state, obviously from this point, the only sound that this is making was the insertion sound. Everything else is coming from the Vistamp. And like again, just the green LED like helps. Like I think it accommodates so well with this scheme and such. I should probably state too. Obviously, you can restyle. It just becomes a white LED. Interestingly. And then, again, for curiosity's sakes, if we were to use the weekend driver, I guess it didn't count it. Here. Kamen Rider King Cobra. So obviously we'll use this with the Revice driver for consistency. So with King Cobra, as you can see, just like Giant Spider, it mostly uses the sound set of Cobra, but obviously just emphasizes on certain aspects of it. And as you can see from here, again, just like Megabet and Giant Spider, the symbol here, obviously, is just of John's Ryder symbol for the most part, and such. So, obviously, our 2 standard finishers. Obviously, it's just a white LED. Woohoo, a remix I can actually catch on. We heard Kurameki Oja, so Shining Snake King. And I guess I'll do this one just to show this one. Oh gosh. I'll just show this one off because I would have done the Death Stream / Veil Driver, but it actually doesn't do it correctly. Or they changed it. Oh, did I turn this one off? So just like Mega Bat, they carried over the another, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that basically does it for this set. Which this set is definitely the most solid of the three, just because it's very just straightforward and such for the most part. You know, we have our very basic, bare bones memorial-esque memorial editions added, and our traditional, hey, buy the memorial, here's a new item to entice you to actually buy thing. And like, obviously, I'm not, for the sake of this set, I'm not saying this in a negative connotation. I'm just being like, I guess I'm just saying that like more directly. And also, like, I guess what's interesting here is that you can see Invincible John in the back, because you have her helmet going on. Like, you have these from her helmet going down, but you can't even see the actual helmet. Yeah, like, definitely, like, this set is, like, really solid overall. Like, I do enjoy this set. Because, again, I like the things that they did with the Cobra Vistamp to actually, like, emphasize, like, or, like, actually, you know, immerse the consumer with how it's done in the show. Because I feel like that's the goal of these memorial items, to just immerse the consumer as if how it's done in the show. To which I feel like with the Revice items, they do a pretty decent job at that. Again, just except for Bat. I don't know what was going on with Bat that they just completely omitted. It's just that it's just unfortunate with just how much of a downgrade these sets have been and such. But I'll hold myself back before actually finishing my thoughts on this set. Well, I mean, I think I basically already said everything. I think this is a pretty solid set overall. Again, I like could have had a lot more phrases of Sakura. Because, like, obviously there's the one, like, that actually does acknowledge Hana, but, like, again, there's, like, no correlation, or it's just, like, very cherry-picked of, like, hey, like, these are the big moments and such, which is just unfortunate. I would have preferred, like, some mundane moments or whatever, but, like, again, that's just an issue with all of these Vice stamps as a whole. But looking at the three Memorial Vice stamps, as I've kind of already alluded to in the first set, yeah, this is like a very big downgrade from what we've gotten from, I'll always say, 01. Because again, Saber is not really a fair comparison, because obviously with Saber, like, Saber didn't have a traditional memorial item. And the thing too is that I think I'm very spoiled by how Saber handled it, because at least with Saber, yeah, it sucked that there was no content. There was not that much content from the movies, but there was a lot of things from the show, because of the fact you got like at least a new batch of phrases like every week and such, which I think was really cool. Like, the fact that you managed to at least get down like 3 to like 8 new phrases a week. Like, that actually made the Kaiken Rekka Sound Update Edition cool. Because it's just like, it's a combination of the entire show. Yes, mostly from Toma and Rintaro's perspectives, and like maybe including Kenta once in a while. It would have been cooler if they actually had all the other characters. But like other than that, like the Sound Update Edition of the Kaiken Rekka does a good job at like being a combination of the show. I feel like that's heavily missing with these memorial sets, if that makes sense. I don't think these memorial sets do a good job at like being in a combination of Revice as a show. I feel like it's just more of like a highlights thing, or like a best of like this character's bits. To which I feel like with some of these, they're not really it, because it's just like, okay, cool, we got their like signature catchphrase, and like here we got some big moments, but it's just like, yeah, like of course you're gonna have those things, but like you need like, again, you need the mundane stuff, the little things too, just to like help build up upon it. Cause like without like without that, again, it just feels very scattered and not really thoughtful. I guess. Which, again, I know this is not a CSM, but it's just like, I'm just going off of like basically what they've done with 01 and Saber. Those, like, again, like I said before, they don't dive into the side content or the movies, because obviously I expect that within CSMs and such. Or CSMs to at least go through that effort. With memorial items, it's more of like, oh, that's actually, like, it's more of like a luxury, basically. Like, for example, with Ryzen Hopper, within the memorial sets, I think there was only like 2 phrases that were actually from Rayla the first generation. And again, it was only in Ryzen Hopper. So it's just like, the fact they went through that effort is pretty cool. But it's just like, for the most part, it's just like, you would at least expect like that character's journey through the entire show to be like in the toy. But it's just weird for these 3 sets. They couldn't even do that. And like, I guess you have to keep in mind there are like some sacrifices they had to do. Like, I'm glad that technically in a way that they didn't, like, I'm glad in a way there's not as much things you have to look forward to within these sets. Because honestly, in a way, they probably could have just, they probably should have just done the Geo route and just put the core 4 riders in a set and have that be a thing, and then have Perfect Wing and Invincible John as a set. I think that would have been more desirable, but I get that they wanted more profit, so obviously they split into 3 and such. But it's just like, at the end of the day, it's just like, I think these sets are like alright, but like, it's such like a backwards direction and towards like the Ryder memorial items. Cause it's just like, we were going so high at like where they could potentially go. Cause like, obviously, like, I like how the memorial items for Ryder are like this weird like in between of like, okay, like this is like it's not a CSM, but it's like, it's basically almost touching that point, which is why I'm honestly pretty relieved that because of like the influx of memorial editions from Sentai and Ultraman, Ryder ended up having to make a new entire branch for their memorial items, which are the premium DX items. And from what we've seen so far with the Shinobi Raise buckle, we're luckily back at the quality of Zero One and Saber. So it's just weird that Revice didn't really like. It just seems like with Revice, they didn't really take into consideration of like their progress of like of what a memorial item is. And I know this is just pure nonsense, but it's just like it's not like I don't know. It's just like these are not bad, but they could have been so much better and such. This was the only set I got off of Mandarake for like 40 because basically each Vistamp is 20, and this is basically the only set that's like readily available in the aftermarket, weirdly enough, because I thought that this set would have at least been bought out because of people's how much people like Lovekov and just John in general, but I guess people don't and such. And like again, like King Cobra is a really cool Vistamp. I'm really glad of having this Vistamp and being able to put it with Megabat and Giant Spider and soon to be released Giraffa. So it's just like it's cool to have like that lineage of Vistamps, and it just sucks that like Revice doesn't have one. Like the main Ryder doesn't have a Vistamp to go along with like one that actually fits within that lineage, because I think they want Gifford Rex to count into that lineage, but it just doesn't work. But like yeah, it's just like I've been saying a lot. It's just they could have done so much better with these Vistamps and such. Which is why like I'm glad that I didn't bother pre-ordering these sets, because it's just like they definitely wouldn't have been worth it. Just with like how backwards they are of a release and such. Because even like the Memorial Gashats went through the effort of like doing something with the finishers. You at least got a character phrase before and after doing the finisher and such. So it's just like if I had to rank the Memorial gimmick items, yeah, these had to be the lowest ones. Just honestly. And it just sucks because I think the actual items like that are stuck to these sets, they're not bad. So it's just unfortunate. It's just like it's just weird that the actual like items that are tied into like I guess like the quote unquote incentives are more of like the actual reason, like more worth it than the actual reason of why they're selling the thing in the first place. It's just that's just bizarre, but I will stop. uh, that'll have to do with this review. 3:41 a.m.